Hey, this is Gordon for Inspiration Tests. In this video, we're going to work on the MP40 submachine gun in 3ds Max and Substance Painter. So please like this video and share it if you will, because this helps a lot. And thank you for my Patreons for making this possible. So here we are in 3ds Max, and this is going to be the start for creating the MP40, which is a submachine gun that we used quite heavily in the past. And of course, this is a German submachine gun, and it was very effective in many conflicts, especially in World War One or Two. I don't believe when they I don't know where when exactly they started using it, but it was quite effective, and it still is. And as you can see here, it has a lot of details, and it kind of gives you some creative juices when you start working on it, because it's very unique and there are very few weapons that look like it actually. And it's not that hard to create, but there are some layers of complexity in it, even though they're not going to be that strong, that to the extent that they will prevent you from getting a good result, or to the extent that it will take you longer than any other submachine gun that we will work on in the future, or those you worked on previously. But it's going to be a beautiful challenge if you are used to creating some of the weapons here. Then it's going to be I think you will see some progress if you are not that experienced. And I personally, every piece I work on that I didn't work on previously is for me an opportunity to grow myself as an artist and to actually kind of develop my skills. And as you can see here, you need to actually take a look here and there between the front or the side, whatever viewport you're working from. You need to actually constantly switch between the side viewport and the perspective, or the front end perspective, depending on what viewport you're working from. And this is going to give you perspective, a 3D dimensional perspective, of course, because you don't want to neglect the 3-dimensional aspect, especially when you start adding details. And it's also very important in this step of blocking the shape of this model and any other model. And I would suggest that you constantly check, because you don't want to forget that you are working on something 3-dimensional, and later you're gonna figure out that you screwed up. It's not gonna be a pleasant experience, because you're gonna need to go back and change some of the things you worked on previously. So for the people who are following me for a long period of time now, they will notice that I've created this weapon previously. So in the previous parts, I've done actually the modeling, which was, so this is something so what you can see now is actually something I've worked on months ago, but here I am gonna finish it. Here I'm gonna continue this weapon, and I started actually I was going to continue, but what about the people who didn't watch the previous videos? So I thought to myself, I'm gonna recreate it from scratch, but I'm gonna complete it, and I'm gonna do a time-lapse video, because it's very hard to actually capture all the process of creating a weapon from start to finish on YouTube. We need to if you're interested, let me know if you want me to create complete courses for you guys. Probably this is not going to be for free, because it's going to be real work to create courses, but it's going to be valuable. Or if you want to learn more, I'm going to encourage you to actually go and search for other people's courses about 3D weapons. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot. And if you want to learn some things for free, or if you want to actually the basic skills, and you are here for actually general knowledge, and you are here to actually gain some more experience, or see what the heck I'm doing here, then you're very welcomed. And please stay with me, because you're gonna see some interesting things. Of course, this weapon here is going to be um, is gonna have a lot of pieces. We're gonna work on so many pieces, and as we work on them, we are in the first steps. We are trying to block out the shape, the general shape or the silhouette of the submachine gun here, and this is a very important step because we need to know how all the pieces are gonna fit with each other and how they are gonna interact with each other, and you better have a lot of references. Probably I'm going to leave a link in the description. If I don't, please let me know in the comment section below, because it's very important that you have a variety of reference images, and there is going to be if I'm going to give you the right link, then you're going to see a lot of good reference images, because looking at reference images and studying the model you're working on, especially weapons, because these weapons we are creating here, we need to be accurate. This is not a fantasy weapon. This is a real, actual weapon that exists. So we need to be accurate in order to have a good, what we can consider a good result, because people looking at it will compare your result with the real thing, and if it is not if it is not good compared to it, then it will probably be considered not good. So I would say if you want to upgrade this model, or just go above and beyond and try to enhance it in whatever kind of way you see that it fits the situation, then go ahead and do it. And if you are creative enough, then it's also a good thing, do it. But if you are trying to actually make it worse than the original thing, then you're probably not gonna succeed at impressing people. Okay, as you can see here, we are working on this this what do we call this piece? It is the piece that the magazine is gonna be integrated with, and it has to be accurate, because the reference images, or the reference image that we are working from right now, which we are kind of basing our modeling process on right now, is not 100% accurate, because it is not the camera is not completely perpendicular to the surface when the shot was taken. So you gonna face some perspective problems. So this image is not actually taken completely from the side. Even if it is, you are gonna still see some perspective issues, so you're gonna have to be smart about it. Sometimes you're gonna neglect some of the minor deviations that you're gonna see from the reference image compared to the model you're working on, and sometimes you have to trust the you have two options. Either you are going to trust the compass, or you're gonna trust the map. So the map is the reference image, and the compass is 3ds Max's tools of alignment and accuracy. So sometimes in the beginning stages, I would say you're gonna trust the map to take you in the right direction. But when it comes to the details, when it comes to to getting things perfectly aligned and stuff, you're gonna trust the tools, because I think the reference images are very important to block out the shape of the weapon you're creating and the silhouette and stuff. But later, when it comes to the details, you're gonna use reference images as a guide to kind of create the details, even though it's not gonna be um, it's not gonna be that good if you don't have cool reference images. So reference images, they're gonna be great in the beginning. Then you're gonna use them just to look at them and to model the details in 3D space. I hope you got this idea. I hope you got the principle I was talking about, and the importance of using reference images, because it is very important. And of course, there are going to be changes to when I finish creating this weapon, especially the modeling or the block out of these pieces. I kind of changed some of the pieces, not dramatically. Some of them, for example, this one here. I'm working on right now. I'm gonna change it later because it does not look like the original MP40. Actually, it makes it look worse. So I had to change it. And later in the process of creating some floating geometry also, I've added some of these according to what I saw. um, uh, Kind of when I started looking at these images, a lot of them I kind of started to figure out that I can add more floating geometry and I can add more details, and this is gonna make things look good, of course. And I think in order to get the most of the weapon you're creating and any other model, actually the finishing touches are very important because everything plays on the details, and the details are extremely important because everyone can create something flat that doesn't convey a lot of meaning and does not impress anyone. But to create something that is going to be of value, something that is going to impress you first and then impress other people, you're going to need a lot of these details and to convey a strong image of accuracy and care and attention in your work. And I would say that you're gonna cultivate the result you are after, and you're gonna feel, actually, for me, I feel the reward of my work when I start adding the extra details that nobody is gonna look at, but subconsciously are gonna impress them. This is something I realized after I've seen a lot of other people's work, and I would say that the when I think about it to enough to long enough to a certain extent, I realize that what impressed me about the thing that I find the most impressive is those little details that I don't see, but at a subconscious level, they are just too great to ignore. Because your subconscious mind is very good at actually sending you coded messages that you don't understand consciously, but the message is there. So you're gonna be impressed at how complex that is, and you're gonna know that this phenomena is going on when you try to break down the work of somebody and try to think about it and how it is actually made, and then you're gonna realize that it is just simple stuff that is being mumbled jumbled in one place. That's why it looks cool. But when you look at it at once, it's gonna impress you. All right, here we are working on the barrel, which is a very important piece as well, because because it is in front of the weapon, and probably is gonna be noticeable, and it's not gonna be that noticeable if you are using this weapon for a third-person shooter, but for presentation purposes, it's gonna be important to actually take care of every aspect of your model, especially when people are gonna notice the details. So the front and the back are important. So this piece here is the front sight, and we are trying to actually build it from the barrel. They're going to be connected to a certain extent, but probably later we're going to break that, because for I think that all right, so now as you can see, I'm breaking this right now because sometimes it's better to keep pieces separate. First of all, because in the unwrapping process, you're gonna find it a lot easier. And later, when you try start doing the baking, and when you name your pieces and start doing the baking and stuff, you're gonna get a lot better results. So it's better to actually keep pieces separated. So the front sight is gonna be the front sight, the barrel is gonna be the barrel, and we're not gonna actually attach we're not gonna attach the magazine to the piece that is gonna be inside. So you're gonna keep things in their places in order to get a better result. And if you want people to actually appreciate your work, especially people that are going to receive your work, if you are in a production environment in a studio, or if you are going to sell your models, or I don't know, if there is someone who is going to use your stuff, then you better be organized, and you better be also perceived as a professional. Even though if you're not, even if you're not working professionally, you're gonna behave like a professional in order to be one. All right, these rings here in front of the barrel are actually interesting, and they are actually, I like how kind of these little details we're gonna create right now, and actually I believe that they are gonna add a lot to the front of the barrel, and of the weapon in general, and it's actually an interesting thing to create. And of course, we're gonna remove this when we actually create the low poly version of this model, since it's gonna be this model is actually created for the ET Legacy group, which is I believe they are doing a great job already. I know I've started working on these models a year ago or so, but actually um, I couldn't kind of work on them as much as I would like to, because I had a lot of work to do. And actually this channel was actually I didn't want to kind of be absent for a long period of time, because creating a weapon like this is gonna take more than a few hours. It's gonna take a lot of work. And for my situation back then, it was gonna take me more than a week, like 2 weeks or so, to create one, let alone recording and converting the files, then rendering, then preparing the intro, then doing this, recording the sound and stuff. It was gonna take me a month for video or so, and this is something that I wasn't prepared for. All right, here you can see that I'm creating some of the pieces that are going to be around the magazine, and probably this piece here is not going to be seen as much, but it's important to be there. And now this is going to be the base of the magazine, which is going to be composed of two pieces actually. So this is going to be the first one, and we're going to add another one around it, so there are going to be two. All right, as you can see, this is the second piece, and it's not gonna be that noticeable, but not including it is gonna feel like it's not there, and there's something missing. So for now, I'm gonna create the hand or the grip. The grip of this MP4 is gonna be very big compared to the other submachine guns we worked on. So it's gonna include what we call the trigger area, the trigger guard. Yeah, we call it the trigger guard. So it's gonna cover the grip and the trigger guard in the same time. So this is gonna be a very big piece. Of course, first we need to block out the shape here, the general and overall shape of the grip, and then we'll extend it to create the trigger guard. And we're gonna make sure that these lines are gonna be smooth. And later we're gonna add more details. So I prefer first to actually work on a 2D plane, as you've seen me do for a long period of time, because this is gonna give me control over the 2D aspect of the model. Then after that I will actually three-dimensionalize, if this is a word, give the third dimension to what I've worked on, knowing that I'm not gonna screw up on the third dimension while working on this on the second. So I actually hate to actually model something from scratch using a box or something. I like to work with planes. Later I'm gonna have the creative freedom to control the third dimension, knowing that I'm not gonna make a lot of mistakes, if any. So this grip and trigger guard actually are not going to be attached. I believe they're, and we're not going to attach them to the main piece on top, because as I said before, every piece needs to be its own property, because this is going to actually give you lesser headaches going further. And actually it's gonna make the model look a lot nicer when you separate stuff and make them actually separate as you go. Now we're creating the trigger, which is going to be inside the trigger guard, of course. And using the shell modifier, we're going to give it the third dimension, so it is 3D now. And these pieces actually are not going to be that impressive, but in the end, when you are done, it's going to give you a good looking weapon when you finish, especially if the thing you're working on is extremely complex. And I would say that I actually want to create a lot of these weapons, a lot of these complex models that are probably gonna take me a lot of hours to create. I would like to do that, but the channel and now at its rate of growth needs to be fed a lot of content quickly. So until it becomes sustainable and a lot of people are getting to it and finding it. So the YouTube is not gonna promote some of the channels that are not doing that good. So I want to actually keep feeding it and giving content for you guys until it becomes working automatically on itself. I will keep doing this content that is, and actually as you can see, I'm upgrading the quality of the content as I go, because as it grows, I'm gonna be able to actually create more impressive content. And this is the state of the affairs here online. I can't actually overstretch myself too much without seeing a lot of reaction, and without my work kind of reaching enough people. Probably when we actually surpass 10,000, I will do the super and ultra good quality. And I think this is gonna actually help me a lot to um, improve as an artist. Is gonna give me time to actually work on the my complex personal projects, and I'm gonna share them with you. And is going to actually benefit you as well, because that means I'm gonna dedicate and kind of use a lot of more time in order to show you what I am doing. Probably I'm gonna find time to create courses. Probably these are gonna be um, some of the stuff that you're gonna choose. It's gonna be up to you, because after all, you are gonna be the ones who are gonna be using this stuff. All right, some of the pieces, as you can see here, are actually are going to be a little bit hard to integrate with each other. But as you can see here, this piece here, the stock here, as you can see, the round wheel right there, and the overall piece of the stock, which are these long bars that you can see, should be attached. But for the sake of making things easier on me, and for the sake of actually getting a little bit of time here and there, we're not going to be attaching them. And it could have been probably a good idea to do so, because technically they are one piece, so we could have just spent more time to do this. Okay, I'm trying actually to make this fit inside or between the two bars right there, but as I said before, you've gotta actually consider what the reference image look like in order to um, get something accurate. And as you can see here, I'm gonna try to create the grip plate. So this is gonna be an extra layer on the top of the grip, and it's gonna be extra important because it's gonna be where the details on the grip are gonna be. So this is gonna be very noticeable. You better actually work on it properly. And these details I'm gonna actually add when it comes to creating the map. So I'm going to add this as part of the normal map. So these details are going to be impressed upon the normal map, and they're not going to be added in the modeling process. like most likely. So what I've done is actually I created a quick normal map, actually normal map that I actually um, um, used in Photoshop, and I integrated with the original normal map I baked in Substance Painter, and I got something that's something you've seen in the beginning of this video. And what I would recommend in working on the some of the pieces here or any other piece is just to kind of keep the details for later. So you better block out the basic shape of the piece. Then later you're gonna start adding details because you don't want to make the mistake of actually struggling with so many vertices and stuff and edges when you start actually going further and starting to add details. So as you progress and as you make progress in the development of modeling your work, you're gonna add the lines and the vertices. You don't do that ahead of time. You don't add vertices and edges that you don't really need. There are quite a few interesting details here on the receiver. So this is gonna be a place where we're gonna add the rear sight, which is gonna be an interesting piece because it's gonna have a few pieces related to it, and modeling that is gonna be actually such a good experience. And of course, these pieces are going to be detached from each other, even though I can't see anything here from this reference image. I'm going to use the other reference images probably because it's very important. So using a flat reference image is not going to give you a lot of information. I would say a lot of time if you want to get a good result, a lot of time you're gonna spend is gonna be spent on the reference images and figuring out what are the pieces you're gonna create individually, and it's gonna be also a good idea to actually uh, uh, look for uh, images for all the pieces on their own, detached from the body of the weapon. It's a good idea to look up these pieces individually because it's gonna give you perspective when you start modeling those. And sometimes, personally, I do draw and sketch these weapons ahead of time because I want the image and the structure of these pieces in my mind ahead of time, and this is gonna give me a head start, and it's gonna give me advantage over someone or over myself when if I don't look them up before I do my work. We call this doing your homework. If this is gonna be uh, in the right context here, I think it is. I think it is in context because preparation is doing your homework. Actually, the receiver is gonna have 3 layers to it, so be prepared to see a lot of weird stuff. So I'm gonna create some of these pieces, or you might consider unnecessary, but I created them anyways. This might add a little extra, but in terms of animation, I think it's gonna be needed. Okay, as you can see here, this is gonna be another layer, and it's gonna be inside. So um, I would say that this is gonna be a little bit confusing, but it is necessary to a certain extent, depending on how far you're gonna take. You want actually to take the details of this weapon, and how much you care for the subtle details that you are probably not gonna see, or not you're not gonna use that much. So here we are trying to reconsider some of the work we've done previously, since there are some new details we created. And adaptation is important here because we want these pieces to work together. Alright, this piece here is gonna be where the belt is gonna be hanging. So the belt itself, I'm not gonna create here in this video because we're not gonna be needed. In my opinion, it's not gonna be needed. We can go without it actually. Alright, this is gonna be an interesting step in which we're gonna try to create that hole right there. I think we need a lot of reinforcement in order to keep that kind of empty space in place, since especially when we start adding supporting edges, we have got to actually support it quite well, because it's gonna be important that the strain is gonna be too hard if we don't keep it in place. We don't keep vertices in place, they are gonna actually stretch too far, and probably they're gonna make the whole thing look miserable. we could have used boolean tools, but fact is, it's gonna be stacked backwards sometimes, because especially when we have a piece that has so many details to it, the boolean is gonna throw these details to the garbage can, because it's gonna detach all the connection between the vertices, and you need to connect everything all over again. It's not worth it. Sometimes doing the work manually is better than using the boolean tools. Of course, we can use other scripts, which is a good idea, which is a cool idea for creating circles and stuff. This is gonna make you actually gain some extra time, or avoid wasting your precious time also. Of course, this piece here is gonna be also highly detailed, and it's gonna be a standalone piece. I don't know what it does actually particularly, but it is there, and it is good looking. I like it. Okay, now we are working on the small pieces, and they are what actually make the thing look as good as it can be. So some of these pieces are gonna be considered floated geometry. They're gonna be considered floating geometry because they're not gonna make it to the low poly version of this model. So later we're gonna have to bake these details on top of the low poly model in Substance Painter without actually being physically present there. Okay, these are also actually extra nice details that I added later after I actually worked on this weapon months previously. So these are the new details I started to add, and you can tell from the change of the material that I'm using overall, and um, I believe adding the details actually, as I told you, is what makes actually the weapon looks interesting. Did I just say? Actually, it is what makes it look interesting, and it makes it actually it makes it a lot more fun to model these stuff and enjoy working on them. Even these tiny weeny details are not gonna be something that you want to neglect. So now we're gonna add some text on top, and it's not gonna be probably that noticeable, but we're gonna do it anyways. All right, now we are, as you can see here, adding uh, kind of the unwrapping stuff. As you can see, we are unwrapping the pieces after I converted the high poly model to a low poly version. So I didn't show you that because it would be incredibly long to do this. I just removed the turbo smooth modifier, and I removed some of the extra edges that we don't really need, and the extra edges that don't really affect the overall silhouette of the model. Some of the pieces we are gonna unwrap right now are gonna have too many small pieces, and we need to work with them individually and stack them properly. We're not gonna stack them on top of each other, of course, because we don't want any overlapping whatsoever in the UVs. Because the textures, we don't want them to look similar. We wanted them to look natural and even realistic if possible. So the unwrapping process is gonna be something that we are gonna spend a little bit of time with in order to get everything right, because it is a very important process, and making it to the end without making a lot of mistakes is gonna be very important for the next steps that are gonna come later. I think this is the biggest piece here in this model by far, because it is the largest, and it wasn't that difficult actually to unwrap. So um, it was actually a little bit not that hard. And don't be intimidated by the other pieces that may look complicated and stuff. They aren't, especially when you start breaking them and start bringing these pieces together. It's not gonna be that actually intimidating. And there are some rules for unwrapping that you need to respect, and if you respect the rules, you're gonna be fine regardless of how complex the model is. You just need to do whatever it takes. Of course, you need to push the pieces that you worked on to the side, out of the outside of the one by one rectangle, because later we're gonna actually pack them together. In the process we call packing the UVs, which is the process I enjoy the most, and the part I enjoy the most when it comes to actually doing UV unwrapping. It's like a puzzle for me. It's like a game. It's like a puzzle that has millions of solutions. But there are solutions that are better. My goal is always to find these better solutions. And the best solution for me is a solution that actually is going to be uh, not the fastest, but something that is going to deliver me UV template that is going to be pleasant to look at, and a UV template that isn't going to leave out a lot of empty space in between the pieces. So after all, unwrapping some of these pieces is gonna be quick to do. Some other pieces is gonna be a little bit hard, but overall, I would say it's not gonna be the big of deal. Some of these pieces that you can see that are duplicated, we need to unwrap them on one side only. Then later we will actually use the copied UV layout and paste it. Then in the packing process, we will actually separate them because we don't want them to be on top of each other, because this is gonna cause UV overlapping, which is something I don't really want to do. All right, we are almost done with unwrapping because there aren't that many pieces actually. Some of these pieces are actually gonna be a little bit difficult to work with because Sometimes the 3ds Max tools don't work efficiently for whatever reason. I don't know why, but when you close the file or when you close 3ds Max and reopen it, they're gonna behave differently and they're gonna work most likely gonna work properly. For example, this piece here I'm gonna find a little bit trouble of dealing with because it didn't 3ds Max tools weren't functioning properly at the beginning. Later I was able to do a better job actually. So UV unwrapping is a process that is highly repetitive and probably we're gonna do a lot of work over and over again until you end up with a finalized and completely unwrapped weapon that we mold and prepare for unwrapping, and then after that we're gonna prepare for baking and texturing. Now we are unwrapping the pieces that are going to be around the front sight. They're not going to be that hard to work on either. Now we are actually unwrapping the small pieces, so these pieces are actually probably going to be disproportional when it comes to the size compared to the original pieces. So don't be afraid actually to change the size of the UVs when it comes to these small pieces, because we want after all the textures to look great. So this is the purpose behind using the UV unwrapping in the first place. All right, now we will actually start texturing this and a bit of baking in Substance Painter. And after we completed the wrapping, now we will start adding quickly. Of course, I didn't spend a lot of time texturing, and some of the I didn't show you everything uh, because of time and stuff. So I don't want this to be super long. And as you can see here, we're gonna apply some simple smart materials, and we're gonna modify some of their features in order to get something closer to what we will see in the reference image. And as I said before, this is not gonna be it's gonna be very simple in terms of texturing. I could have spent a lot more time on textures, and I would say it is very worth it because if you don't do good texturing, then you might as well not do a good job in the other aspects and the other preparation as well, because everything you prepared for is going to be rewarded in the process of texturing. So the good thing about texturing is if you have asset, you can come back later to it and fix it, because it is probably, depending on what you're going to do with your model, is going to be the last step the last step in the process of creating weapons. So it's easy to go back later and upgrade it or enhance it. We are very close to the end of this video, so if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and please share this video with the other people, because the more this video the more liked it is, and the more you share it with other people, it's gonna be shown to them, and I can actually create more of this content, which is something I intend to do in the near future. So I hope you learned a lot of things here, and I hope this content is useful. And please do your homework and prepare yourselves for the next tutorials. So see you next one. Take care.